The day started like any other on Earth's International Space Station. The crew was going about their usual tasks, checking equipment, conducting experiments, and documenting the beautiful blue marble below them. That's when the first signs appeared. The communications officer noticed strange interference patterns in their signals, something they'd never seen before. Within hours, the sky lit up with what looked like rippling curtains of light, but these weren't the usual northern lights. These shimmered with colors that shouldn't exist in nature. Through these cosmic distortions, they came, the Zalaxian fleet, their ships dark and angular, looking like shards of midnight against Earth's bright atmosphere. The world's governments scrambled to respond. News channels interrupted regular broadcasts, social media exploded with videos of the massive ships now hovering over major cities, and people rushed to stock up on supplies. The Zalaxians didn't attack immediately. That wasn't their style. Instead, they positioned their ships strategically around the globe, a show of force meant to intimidate. Their first message was broadcast simultaneously on every screen and device worldwide. Your planet has been chosen for integration into the Zalaxian Empire. Your technology is primitive, your defenses inadequate. Surrender now, and your people will be treated fairly under our rule. Military bases worldwide went on high alert. Fighter jets took to the skies, but compared to the alien vessels, they looked like toys. The Zalaxians watched these efforts with what could only be described as amusement. Their scans showed exactly what they expected: conventional weapons, basic rocket technology, and defensive systems that were centuries behind their own. What they saw confirmed everything their advanced scouts had reported. Humans still used fossil fuels, their space exploration was in its infancy, and their most advanced weapons were nuclear devices, primitive and messy by Zalaxian standards. They had conquered dozens of worlds at this technological level, and Earth seemed no different. The Zalaxian commander, watching from the bridge of their flagship, felt almost disappointed. They had hoped for at least some challenge. Their scans showed scattered military responses, panicking populations, and political leaders arguing about how to respond. It was a familiar scene they had witnessed on many worlds before. But something felt off. The human response seemed too coordinated. Despite the apparent chaos, there was an underlying pattern that didn't quite fit with a civilization at this technology level. The Zalaxian analysts noticed small inconsistencies, gaps in their scans, energy readings that appeared and disappeared too quickly to track, and communication patterns that hinted at something more organized than initial appearances suggested. Still, they followed their standard protocol. Small probe ships descended through the atmosphere, designed to demonstrate their technological superiority and break any remaining will to resist. The probes performed complex aerial maneuvers over major cities, easily evading the primitive human aircraft that attempted to intercept them. The world watched, and the Zalaxians waited for the inevitable calls for surrender. But in secure facilities deep beneath the ocean's surface, hidden from alien scanners, humanity's real response was about to begin. While the aliens focused their attention on the surface chaos, they remained completely unaware of what lurked in the depths below. As the first day of alien contact drew to a close, the Zalaxians were confident in their assessment of Earth's capabilities. They had seen nothing that suggested this would be anything more than a routine conquest. But they were about to learn a crucial lesson about humanity. Appearances can be deceiving, and humans are exceptionally good at keeping secrets, especially when their survival depends on it. In underwater bases around the globe, crews ran final checks on systems that would soon change the course of history. The Zalaxians' overconfidence would prove to be their greatest mistake, as they had no idea they were about to encounter something that would shake their empire to its very foundations. 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean's surface, in a facility so secret that less than 100 people knew of its existence, humanity's greatest achievement waited in darkness. The TSS Thunderchild wasn't just a ship, it was a testament to what humans could achieve when they worked together in secret for over 15 years. The massive underwater base buzzed with activity as crews ran through final preparations. Engineers checked and rechecked systems, while technicians monitored the quantum core that powered the massive vessel. The ship itself was incredible, nearly 2 kilometers long, with smooth lines that made it look more like a massive sea creature than a military vessel. What made the Thunderchild truly special wasn't just its size, it was the technology inside. While the world above had seemingly continued with business as usual, the brightest minds from every nation had been working together in this hidden facility. They had made breakthroughs that would have seemed impossible just decades ago. The ship's hull contained materials that shouldn't exist, metals that could change their properties on command, armor that could absorb almost any kind of energy, and sensors that could see through space itself. The quantum engines that powered it had been tested in absolute secrecy, their energy signatures masked by the miles of ocean above. In the command center, the crew watched the alien ships on their monitors. They knew things the Zalaxians didn't, like how their supposedly advanced scans couldn't penetrate the special materials developed for the Thunderchild's hull. The aliens were looking right at them, but seeing nothing but empty ocean. The project's lead engineer stood at a viewing window, watching teams of workers making final adjustments to the massive vessel. She remembered the day 15 years ago when astronomers had first detected the Zalaxian fleet moving through distant solar systems. They had known this day was coming, and they had prepared. While the world's governments publicly focused on traditional military spending and space programs, they had secretly pooled their resources and best minds into this project. The Thunderchild wasn't just a warship, it was humanity's insurance policy against extinction. Deep in the vessel's core, the quantum reactor hummed to life during final testing. Unlike anything seen before, it didn't just generate power, it bent the very laws of physics. The scientists who developed it had discovered principles that the Zalaxians, for all their advanced technology, had never even considered possible. The ship's weapons weren't just advanced, they were revolutionary. Instead of traditional missiles or energy beams, the Thunderchild could manipulate gravity itself, create localized time distortions, and generate shields that could shake off hits from weapons that could normally vaporize cities. But perhaps most impressive was how they had kept it all secret. Every piece of technology on the Thunderchild had been developed and tested underwater, hidden from prying eyes above. The facility's location had been chosen carefully, in a part of the ocean where natural phenomena masked any unusual readings. As news of the aliens' arrival spread across the world above, the base's commander received reports from similar facilities around the globe. The Thunderchild wasn't alone, it was just the first. Other ships were near completion in hidden bases beneath other oceans, each incorporating slightly different technologies, each ready to defend Earth in its own way. The crew knew their moment would come soon. They had trained for years in simulators, preparing for the day they would reveal themselves. They weren't just soldiers and scientists, they were humanity's best hope, chosen for their skills, their dedication, and their ability to keep the world's biggest secret. As they made their final preparations, they could feel the weight of history on their shoulders. Soon, they would show the Zalaxians that humanity was far more than they appeared to be. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species, but they were about to learn just how wrong they were. The moment had finally arrived. As the Zalaxian ships hung in the sky like dark stars, conducting their standard intimidation tactics, something unprecedented was happening beneath the waves. Deep in the Pacific Ocean, massive doors slowly opened on the ocean floor, releasing a stream of bubbles that raced toward the surface. The Thunderchild's engines powered up with a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the entire structure. Crew members moved with practiced precision to their battle stations, years of training evident in their calm, focused movements. The massive ship began to rise from its hidden berth, water cascading off its gleaming hull. On the alien ships above, the first alerts began to sound. Their sensors detected a large mass moving up from the ocean depths, but the readings made no sense. The object was clearly massive, yet it seemed to flicker in and out of their scans, as if it was there and not there at the same time. The surface of the Pacific Ocean began to bulge upward, drawing the attention of both human satellites and alien vessels. Then, in a display that would be remembered for generations, the ocean itself seemed to part as the Thunderchild broke the surface. Water sheeted off its hull in silver cascades, catching the sunlight and creating rainbow effects that made the ship's first appearance almost magical. The Zalaxian fleet's reaction was immediate but confused. Their sensors struggled to get a clear reading on the vessel. Its hull seemed to absorb and deflect their scanning beams in ways their technology couldn't explain. The ship was clearly of human origin, but it defied everything they thought they knew about Earth's capabilities. As the Thunderchild rose fully into the air, its true size became apparent. It dwarfed the largest selection ships, yet it moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something so massive. The quantum engines worked silently, holding the huge vessel steady without any visible means of propulsion. People around the Pacific Rim stopped and stared in awe. Phones came out by the thousands, recording humanity's first true space battleship as it rose into the sky. Social media exploded with videos and photos, and for the first time since the aliens arrived, the predominant emotion on Earth wasn't fear, it was pride. The Zelaxian command was thrown into chaos. Their intelligence had been completely wrong. How had humans hidden something of this size? How had they developed technology that their best scanners couldn't properly read? Their entire strategy had been based on the assumption of human technological inferiority, and now that assumption was literally being blown out of the water. The Thunderchild's commander opened a channel to all frequencies, broadcasting in both human languages and the Zelaxians' own communication formats. The message was simple but powerful. This is the TSS Thunderchild. We stand ready to defend Earth. We suggest you reconsider your current course of action. To demonstrate its capabilities, the Thunderchild activated its defensive systems. A subtle shimmer appeared around the ship, a shield unlike anything the Zelaxians had encountered. Their scans showed energy readings that shouldn't have been possible with what they believed to be human technology. The ship's appearance had an immediate effect on the alien fleet. Several smaller vessels began to pull back to defensive positions. The Zelaxians had encountered many civilizations, but none had ever surprised them like this. None had ever hidden their true capabilities so completely. As the Thunderchild took up position between Earth and the alien fleet, it was clear that everything had changed. The Zelaxians had arrived expecting to find an easy conquest. Instead, they found themselves facing something new and unknown, a human vessel that challenged everything they thought they knew about technological advancement. In orbital stations and on ships throughout the alien fleet, Zelaxian analysts frantically tried to make sense of what they were seeing. But the truth was becoming clear. They had severely underestimated humanity, and that mistake might cost them their first major defeat in centuries of conquest. The Zelaxian fleet hung motionless in space as their best scientists and engineers struggled to understand what they were seeing. Their scans of the Thunderchild revealed technologies that shouldn't exist, at least not on Earth. The quantum-locked armor of the human ship wasn't just advanced, it was revolutionary. Every scan they ran revealed new surprises. The hull wasn't just a barrier, it was alive in its own way, constantly adapting and changing at the molecular level. When they tried to analyze its weapon systems, their sensors returned impossible readings. The power source at the ship's heart seemed to bend reality itself. The Thunderchild's crew watched their own readings with quiet confidence. They could see the alien scans bouncing harmlessly off their shields, could track every movement of the Zelaxian fleet. Years of preparation had paid off. Their ship wasn't just competitive with alien technology, it had surpassed it in many ways. In the Thunderchild's engine room, the quantum core pulsed with a steady beat, its blue-white light casting strange shadows. The engineers monitored their stations with pride. While the aliens relied on conventional fusion power, the Thunderchild drew energy from the quantum fabric of space itself. Each pulse of the core generated more power than a small sun. The ship's weapons remained powered down but ready. Unlike the crude energy weapons of the alien fleet, the Thunderchild's arsenal manipulated the fundamental forces of the universe. Gravity lancers could tear ships apart without firing a single shot. Time dilation fields could freeze enemy vessels in moments of stretched time. One young Zelaxian commander, frustrated by the sudden shift in power, decided to test the human ship's capabilities. Without authorization from the fleet command, he ordered his vessel to lock weapons on the Thunderchild. His crew, trained to obey without question, complied. The response was immediate but measured. Before the alien ship could even power up its main weapons, the Thunderchild had already reacted. A gentle pulse of gravitational force rippled out from the human vessel. It wasn't meant to destroy, just to demonstrate. The alien ship found itself unable to move, caught in a web of altered gravity. The Zelaxian crew watched in shock as their most advanced systems simply stopped working. Their artificial gravity flickered. Their weapons wouldn't respond. Even their emergency systems seemed confused. The Thunderchild had neutralized their ship without firing a single conventional shot. Then, just as quickly, the gravitational field released them. The message was clear. The human ship could have destroyed them, but chose not to. This display of power and restraint sent shockwaves through the entire alien fleet. They had never encountered a species that could so easily counter their technology. The Thunderchild's central computer system, far more advanced than anything the Zelaxians had expected, had predicted and countered the attack before it could even begin. The ship's artificial intelligence didn't just react to threats, it anticipated them, running millions of scenarios per second. As news of the confrontation spread through the alien fleet, the Zelaxian High Command faced an uncomfortable reality. Their scans showed that the Thunderchild's technology was largely based on principles their scientists had never even theorized. Humans hadn't just caught up to Zelaxian technology, they'd taken a completely different path and possibly surpassed them. The most disturbing revelation came when they detected similar energy signatures from other parts of Earth's oceans. The Thunderchild wasn't a one-off demonstration, it was just the first. Humanity had somehow managed to develop an entire fleet of these vessels in complete secrecy. What scared the Zelaxians most wasn't just the advanced technology, it was how quickly humans had developed it. Other species they'd encountered took centuries to advance through various technological stages. Humans had seemingly leaped forward centuries in just a few decades, and they'd done it in a way that no one had detected. The tension in space could have been cut with a knife. Despite the clear warning from the Thunderchild, one young and hot-headed Zelaxian commander couldn't accept the humiliation of being outmatched by what he still considered a lesser species. His battle cruiser, the Pride of Zelax, broke formation and moved aggressively toward the human vessel. Inside the Thunderchild's command center, the crew remained calm. They trained for this exact scenario countless times in simulations. The ship's advanced systems had already detected the power surge in the alien vessel's weapons, and defensive measures were automatically engaging without any need for panic. The Zelaxian commander launched what he thought would be an overwhelming attack. His ship fired a barrage of plasma torpedoes, weapons that could typically vaporize small cities. The attacks streaked across space, their brilliant purple energy lighting up Earth's atmosphere like artificial auroras. What happened next left even the most seasoned Zelaxian warriors speechless. As the plasma torpedoes approached the Thunderchild, they seemed to slow down, as if moving through thick syrup. The human ship's temporal defense field had activated, creating a bubble of altered time around itself. The incoming attacks were caught in this field, slowing to a near standstill. With almost casual ease, the Thunderchild's point defense systems went to work. Small pulses of concentrated gravity plucked the frozen plasma torpedoes from space, safely dispersing their energy into harmless waves that rippled through the temporal field. It wasn't just a defense, it was an elegant demonstration of complete technological superiority. The young commander, furious at seeing his attack neutralized so easily, ordered his ship to move closer, planning to use their short-range weapons. The rest of the Zelaxian fleet watched in horror as he ignored direct orders to stand down. They could all see this was a mistake, but pride and anger had clouded his judgment. The Thunderchild's response was precise and measured. Instead of destroying the attacking ship, it created a localized gravity well that caught the alien vessel like a fish in a net. The Pride of Zelax found itself unable to move forward or back, held in place by forces its engineers couldn't counter. Then, in a display of both power and mercy, the Thunderchild used its gravity manipulation systems to slowly rotate the attacking ship around, pointing it back toward its own fleet. The message was clear: go home, rethink your choices, and be grateful we're choosing peace over conflict. The whole encounter had lasted less than 5 minutes, but its impact would be felt for generations. The Thunderchild had demonstrated not just superior technology, but also superior judgment. They could have destroyed the attacking ship, but chose instead to offer a lesson in humility. On Earth, millions watched the encounter through telescopes and on screens showing space agency feeds. The pride that swelled in human hearts wasn't just about having better technology, it was about using that technology wisely, about showing restraint when force wasn't necessary. The Zalaxian High Command wasted no time in relieving the young commander of his duties. His actions had nearly sparked a conflict they now realized they might not be able to win. More importantly, the incident had proven that humans possessed not just advanced technology, but the wisdom to use it responsibly. As the disabled alien ship was towed back to its fleet by its own support vessels, the Thunderchild remained steady in its defensive position above Earth. Its crew continued their duties calmly, knowing they had just changed the course of human history without firing a single shot in anger. The incident had another unexpected effect: respect. The Zalaxian warriors, who valued both power and honor, found themselves gaining a grudging admiration for these humans who could have destroyed their ship but chose not to. Maybe, they began to think, these beings weren't so primitive after all. After the failed attack attempt, the atmosphere in space changed dramatically. The Zalaxian High Command, realizing they needed to completely rethink their approach, opened diplomatic channels. A signal came through to the Thunderchild's communication systems requesting a peaceful dialogue. The response from Earth was swift but cautious. The Thunderchild's commander activated the ship's holographic communication system, creating a virtual meeting space where both sides could talk face to face. The technology itself was another surprise for the aliens. The quality of the holographs was beyond anything they possessed. Inside this virtual space, the Zalaxian leadership got their first close look at their human counterparts. They were surprised to find themselves facing not just military personnel, but also scientists, engineers, and civilian leaders. This wasn't just a military vessel, it was a symbol of human cooperation and achievement. The human representatives didn't waste time with pleasantries. They laid out what they knew: the Zalaxians' history of conquering other worlds, their standard tactics of intimidation, and their usual method of exploiting resources from conquered planets. The aliens were shocked. Humans hadn't just developed advanced technology, they'd been gathering intelligence on the Zalaxian Empire for years. Then came the biggest revelation. One of the human scientists pulled up a holographic display showing energy signatures from various points around Earth's oceans. Each signature matched a Thunderchild's. The message was clear: this wasn't just one ship. There were others, each with its own unique capabilities, each ready to defend Earth if needed. The Zalaxian leaders found themselves in an unprecedented situation. Their entire strategy had been based on technological superiority, but now they faced a species that had not only caught up, but had developed technologies they didn't even understand. The humans had achieved in secret what took other civilizations centuries to develop openly. As the diplomatic talks continued, Earth's representatives shared more details about the Thunderchild's development. They explained how the world's nations had secretly worked together, pooling resources and knowledge while maintaining a facade of normal technological progress. The deception had been perfect. Even the Zalaxians' advanced scouts had been fooled. The aliens were particularly interested in understanding how humans had made such rapid progress. The answer surprised them. It was precisely because of the threat of alien invasion. The knowledge that they weren't alone in the universe and that other civilizations might not be friendly had united humanity in ways nothing else could. Throughout the discussion, more incredible capabilities of the Thunderchild were revealed. Its quantum communication system could instantly connect with any point on Earth without possibility of interception. Its medical bay contained technology that could cure diseases the Zalaxians still struggled with. Even its waste recycling system was more advanced than anything they had. The Zalaxian leaders began to realize they were facing a choice: continue with their standard conquest approach and risk a devastating war, or try something new. The humans had proven themselves not just technologically capable, but also measured in their response to aggression. Perhaps there was another way forward. As the diplomatic session drew to a close, both sides had much to think about. The humans had demonstrated not just their technological prowess, but their willingness to defend themselves while still remaining open to peaceful solutions. The Zalaxians, for their part, were beginning to see Earth not as a conquest, but as a potential ally. The Thunderchild remained on station, a silent guardian while both sides considered their next moves. Its mere presence was a constant reminder that humanity was no longer a species to be underestimated. The age of Earth being seen as an easy target for alien conquest was over. As tensions eased, something unexpected began to happen. Both humans and Zelaxians found themselves curious about each other. The Thunderchild's massive hangar bay was chosen as a neutral meeting ground where the first face-to-face cultural exchange would take place. The human delegation arrived with gifts, not just technical data, but art, music, and examples of Earth's cultures. The Zelaxians were fascinated by human creativity. They had focused so much on technological advancement that things like music and art had become rare in their society. The sound of a simple guitar being played brought several of their scientists to tears. What impressed the aliens most wasn't just human technology, it was how quickly humans had developed it. When shown the history of human progress, from the first powered flight to space travel in just over a century, the Zelaxians were stunned. Other species they'd encountered took 3 or 4 times as long to achieve similar advances. The secret, they learned, lay in human nature itself. While Zelaxian society valued order and conformity, humans thrived on competition and cooperation existing side by side. Different teams of scientists would race to solve the same problem, then share their findings to push progress even further. This approach had led to breakthroughs that the more structured Zelaxian research methods had missed. During tours of the Thunderchild, the aliens discovered more surprises. The ship's crew included people from every corner of Earth, all working together seamlessly. The vessel itself contained technologies developed by different nations, each contributing their best innovations to create something greater than any could have achieved alone. The Zelaxian scientists were particularly amazed by human problem-solving abilities. When shown a technical issue that had stumped their engineers for years, a human team came up with 3 possible solutions in just a few hours. Their ability to think outside the box, a human phrase that needed much explanation, was unlike anything the aliens had seen. In the ship's recreational areas, cultural exchange flourished. Human crew members taught Zelaxian visitors Earth games like chess. The aliens, in turn, shared stories of their travels across the galaxy. Both sides found themselves laughing together as they navigated the awkward moments of first contact, like when a Zelaxian scientist accidentally activated a coffee machine and was startled by the sudden burst of steam. The Thunderchild's advanced medical bay became a point of intense interest. Human doctors had developed ways to heal that the Zelaxians had never considered. While the aliens relied heavily on synthetic replacements for damaged body parts, humans had found ways to regenerate natural tissue. This discovery alone could revolutionize medical care across the galaxy. Even the ship's environmental systems impressed the visitors. Humans had created a closed ecosystem that was more efficient than anything in the Zelaxian fleet. The way the Thunderchild recycled and purified air and water, grew food in specialized chambers, and maintained perfect living conditions showed an understanding of biological systems that surpassed the aliens' mechanical solutions. The Zelaxian leadership began to see Earth in a new light. Here was a species that had not only matched their technology, but had found entirely new ways to solve problems. The human approach of combining competition with cooperation had led to innovations they hadn't thought possible. As days passed, more Zelaxian ships requested permission to send observers to the Thunderchild. What had started as a tense military standoff was transforming into the galaxy's most unusual cultural exchange program. The massive ship, built for war, was becoming a symbol of peace and understanding. Most surprisingly, the Zelaxians found themselves learning from humans about things they had forgotten: the importance of art, the value of individual creativity, and the power of working together while maintaining unique identities. It was becoming clear that this encounter would change both species forever. The Zelaxian High Council called an emergency meeting aboard their flagship. For the first time in their 1,000-year history of space exploration, they were about to do something unprecedented: propose an alliance with a species they had originally planned to conquer. The decision wasn't easy, but the evidence was overwhelming. In the Thunderchild's main conference room, the ship's advanced holographic systems displayed the proposal in stunning detail. The Zelaxians offered to share their star maps, their knowledge of other civilizations, and their advanced space travel technology. In return, they hoped to learn from humanity's unique approaches to technology and problem-solving. What made the proposal particularly interesting was how it acknowledged human innovation. The Zalaxians admitted openly that humans had developed technologies they didn't understand. The quantum core of the Thunderchild, the gravity manipulation systems, and the adaptive hull material were all beyond their current capabilities. The human representatives listened carefully to the proposal. They had prepared for many scenarios: invasion, conflict, even planetary destruction, but an offer of alliance had seemed unlikely. Yet here they were, discussing trade routes and technological exchange programs with a species that had arrived as conquerors just days ago. The Thunderchild's crew watched with interest as diplomatic teams moved back and forth between meetings. The ship that had been built for war was now hosting peace talks. Its advanced security systems, designed to detect threats, were being used to verify the authenticity of diplomatic documents. One particular point of discussion caught everyone's attention. The Zalaxians wanted to establish a joint research center where scientists from both species could work together. They were especially interested in understanding how humans had developed such different technological solutions to similar problems. The human delegation had their own requests. They wanted guarantees that Earth would remain independent, that human innovations would be protected, and that any alliance would be between equals. The days of considering Earth a primitive planet were over. Now it was time for a partnership of mutual respect. In the ship's observation deck, human and Zalaxian negotiators took breaks between sessions, looking down at Earth together. The aliens began to understand why humans had developed such unique technologies. They had done it to protect that beautiful blue planet below them. The proposal included plans for joint space exploration missions. The Zalaxians had ships that could travel between stars with ease, but the humans had developed better ways to shield crews from radiation and maintain psychological well-being during long journeys. Together, they could explore further than either species had gone before. Both sides agreed that the alliance would need to be built slowly, with trust developing over time. The Thunderchild would remain on patrol, and the other human ships would stay ready. Trust was important, but so was being prepared. The Zalaxians respected this caution. It showed wisdom they hadn't expected from such a young spacefaring race. As the negotiations continued, news of the potential alliance spread through both fleets. Crew members from both sides were already imagining the possibilities: human ships exploring distant stars, Zalaxian scientists learning new ways to solve old problems, and both species growing stronger together. The alliance proposal wasn't just about military cooperation or technological exchange. It was about two species recognizing that they could achieve more together than apart. The Zalaxians had centuries of spacefaring experience, while humans had fresh perspectives and innovative solutions. Together, they could reshape the galaxy. Dawn broke over the Pacific Ocean on a day that would be remembered throughout human history. The Thunderchild hovered majestically above the United Nations headquarters in New York, its massive form casting a protective shadow rather than a threatening one. Below, delegates from every nation on Earth gathered to witness something unprecedented: the signing of humanity's first interstellar alliance. The ceremony was being broadcast worldwide. Billions watched as the Thunderchild's advanced holographic systems projected the event into homes, town squares, and public spaces across the globe. For the first time, people could see their alien guests clearly, understanding that these beings who came as conquerors would leave as allies. Inside the UN building, the Grand Assembly Hall had been modified to accommodate both human and Zalaxian delegations. The Zalaxian High Council members, with their tall, dignified forms, sat alongside human world leaders. The contrast was striking, yet there was a shared sense of purpose that transcended their physical differences. The Earth Selection Accord, as it came to be known, was displayed on massive screens. Its terms were clear and fair: mutual defense, technological exchange, cultural preservation, and joint exploration rights. Most importantly, it recognized Earth as an equal partner in galactic affairs, not a subordinate world. The Thunderchild's commander gave a speech that moved both species. She spoke of how the ship, built in secret to defend Earth, had instead become a bridge between civilizations. Its very existence had prevented a war and opened the door to peace. The commander thanked the thousands of scientists, engineers, and workers who had kept the project secret for so long. As the final signatures were added to the accord, something beautiful happened. The Thunderchild activated its quantum field generators, creating a spectacular light show in the sky. The Zalaxian ships responded with their own display, and for a few minutes, the sky above New York danced with lights that represented the best of both civilizations. The Accord's first act was the establishment of the Joint Space Exploration Initiative. The Thunderchild would lead the first mission, carrying both human and Zalaxian crew members to explore unknown regions of space. Its unique technologies, combined with Zalaxian experience, would push the boundaries of what both species thought possible. News channels across Earth showed celebrations breaking out in cities worldwide. People who had hidden in fear just days ago now danced in the streets. Children pointed excitedly at the alien ships, no longer seeing them as threats, but as gateways to adventure among the stars. In orbit, more Thunderchild-class ships emerged from their hidden bases, revealing Earth's full defensive capabilities. The Zalaxians watched with newfound respect as these massive vessels took up protective positions around the planet. Each ship represented a different aspect of human innovation, all working together to guard their home. The Zalaxian fleet began their departure, but not as conquerors in retreat. They left as allies, leaving behind ambassadors and taking with them human representatives who would help establish the first Earth embassy in deep space. Their massive ships disappeared into hyperspace one by one, each departure marked by a respectful salute from the Thunderchild's gravity pulse arrays. As the sun set on this historic day, the Thunderchild remained on station above Earth, a symbol of how far humanity had come. The ship that was built because of fear now stood as a testament to hope. Its quantum core pulsed steadily, ready to power humanity's next great adventure among the stars. The world had changed forever. Humans looked up at the night sky with new eyes, knowing they were no longer alone, no longer vulnerable, and no longer bound to their own solar system. The age of Earth's isolation was over, and a new chapter in human history had begun, not through conquest or submission, but through wisdom, innovation, and the courage to reach for the stars.